Hi, I'm Rich. I'm one of the co-founders at Resi. I work with Olivia here in the Connect team, all things builder and technical and design. So work throughout the whole process, so hopefully you're in good hands.
Yeah, and my name is Olivia. I'm the head of Resi Connect here. I've been here about a year. I look after approximately 86 vetted builders who are on our Resi platform, and I support our customers to getting the right builder to make their dream a reality. So we are going to talk a little bit today about Resi, what Resi Connect is, and then talk to you a bit about the builder process and how to find the right builder for your project. So hopefully many of you already know who Resi are. Hold on one second, guys, sorry. Slack pop up. We are the UK's #1 home extension company. We have extended over 7,000 homes. We look after you for the entirety of your process, from the very dream and the concept all the way through to planning. We get a survey done for you. We work with you very closely to make your dream a reality. We look after the final stages of your process, which is finding the right builder for your project. So we have introduced over 2,000 customers to vetted builders via our Resi Connect platform. So what we're going to talk about today is a number of things about finding the right builder for your project. So first of all, it's going to be how to get started on your builder search. It feels very overwhelming, and we're going to explain to you the best ways to get started. We'll talk about the best research that you need to undertake when looking for your builder. We're also going to give you sort of a how-to guide about how to conduct contractor site visits, what to expect.
And I'm going to talk about the tenders themselves, how you can review each of the tenders, appointing your builder, and then what you need to do to get on site and get build ready.
And so I thought I'd just explain to you a little bit about Resi and the Connect service. This guy on the screen is Easy Harry. He's here live on the webinar for you. So Resi Connect is a free service for our customers where we can introduce you to a vetted builder who's on our platform, who can meet you, estimate for your project, tender for your project, and hopefully win your project. We have around 80 builders based inside and outside the M25. We're a team of 4, and our job is really to work with you to make sure that we can get the right builder over to your site to meet you. We talk through your tenders and we give you all the support that you need to make sure you can get a great builder on your project and make your dream a reality. So many people don't know where to start when they're looking for a builder. It's really overwhelming. Working with Resi, obviously you get your hand held through the entire process at the very beginning. You get support with finding the right designer to do your project. You get support with planning and survey and building regulations and all that kind of stuff. But the most scary part is finding the right builder, and that's where we're here to help you and how to explain to you how to get started. So I've summarised some points here about the most important things that I think we should be looking at when you're looking for the right builder. And Rich, we're going to walk you through them together. First point is builder specialism. It sounds really silly and probably quite obvious, but you need to make sure you're finding a builder who can specialise in your kind of project. If you are doing a loft project, there is absolutely no point in finding a builder whose specialism is heritage properties or basements. You should always be looking for a builder who specialises in what you want to do. If you find a loft specialist, for instance, and you are doing a loft, more often than not, they can give you a really good price for your project. They understand the loft space very well. They can be probably quite fast and quite quick. And they're definitely the better type of builder for you to look for. So we try and make sure we match you with the right kind of builder if you come through our Resi Connect platform.
Yeah, spot on. I think that it goes without saying that if you're doing a lot of a similar thing, you become quite sort of good at doing that. So yeah, I mean, this is what we do in the team. We match the builder type or specialism to the type of project you're going to do. And it sounds really obvious, doesn't it? But it's important. It saves you money and you get a better build generally.
Yeah. General contractors are great, and so many of them are great at everything, but sometimes seeing a specialist, knowing that they know your type of project really well is a good thing to have. The next thing to consider is the size of contractor. So again, we have contractors on the Resi platform of all sizes. We can have very small, five people companies who are much more bespoke. They maybe take a little bit longer on their projects. They can often be a little bit cheaper because they take a bit longer. They're much more maybe family-led. And then we go all the way up to the massive contractors that maybe have, you know, tens of hundreds of people in their business. They will have armies and teams that come on site. They're normally much faster, they're normally much more efficient, and they're normally a little bit more expensive. And so the size of contractor is really important. You have to consider what's important to you. Are you motivated by budget, in which case you're going to have to look at maybe a contractor that might take a bit longer and is much smaller? Or are you motivated by speed and getting something done really fast, in which case a larger size contractor is better for you? And also it's about the rapport and how you feel about builders. If you want to be seeing the same foreman on site every day or shaking the hand of the kind of the building contractor owner every day on site, then smaller is better for you. But the bigger contractors, you're likely just to be a bit of a cog in a wheel, and you're likely just to have different people on site every day, and you might not find you get the same sort of feeling of importance from a larger contractor.
But then on the side, I suppose like the flip side, a bigger outfit, more professional, more of a team, more of a backing behind them, more experienced project managers. So there's sort of pros and cons to all really. So it's sort of, not...
Bit of a mix.
Yeah, a bit of a mix.
Yeah. Number 3 is their location to your house. So where possible, we try and connect you to a local builder, i.e. someone who covers your area regularly, understands and knows your area. Often it's important to find a builder that has that local knowledge, because more often than not, they have looked and worked on your typology of house before. They maybe are familiar with the street in which your property is. They maybe know the area very well. They can be more sympathetic to that. Finding a builder that is local to you and knows your area well is really important, isn't it, Rich?
Yeah, I think because they know the house type, right? And you get a bit of confidence that they've done something down the road, and you can sort of knock on your neighbour's door and talk to them, see their work. So, and it's sort of like community-led as well, right? So you know that they are where they are, and I think that's a good thing. Yeah, knowing the property inside out, they all have like the nuances and differences and structural stuff that changes, the drainage in the garden. So you sort of, the local knowledge bit can really help with your build, and the builders would know that. So
there is no point bringing in a contractor who's based in Berkshire if your build is in East London. It's just going to be painful for you, painful for them.
Unless they're amazing.
Unless they're amazing, absolutely. Unless there's something that means that you are willing to do it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be painful for them to get to the property every day. I think people underestimate how stressful it can be when you are perhaps project managing your own build and you've got builders that are coming in, they're not here on time, people aren't showing up. It can be really frustrating. So knowing that you've got a builder that knows where you live really well can sometimes be very much reassuring to you as a customer. And the final point on here is who will be project managing your build. We have a whole range of customers here at Resi. A lot of our customers are upsizing, they've got a growing family, they are on a tight budget, and we will design the most appropriate build for them, kind of keeping in mind with their budget concerns. But sometimes those people are going to have to do the project management of their build themselves. They can't afford a third-party project manager, and often the smaller contractors won't have a project manager. The project manager will be you. You will be the person on site speaking to the contractor, you'll be fielding calls, you'll be kind of doing what you can to keep the build going and keep momentum. And so if you're happy with that, then absolutely that will be something that you can do if you're working with a smaller contractor. If you want a bigger contractor and you're happy to pay for a project manager, fantastic. If you can afford it, we always recommend it. But I think the key thing here is that if you are adamant you do not want to project manage your build and you want to be as hands-off as you possibly can, then the type of builder that you'll want to go for will be a much bigger, much more established builder.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so here's a little checklist that we pulled together of the most important things to consider when you are looking at your builders and starting to do your early research. So point 1 is to check their accreditations. There are 2 really big accreditations in the UK that we think are very important for builders. The first one is Trustmark. That is the only government approved builder scheme that builders can apply to be part of. The second one is the Federation of Master Builders, also known as the FMB. They're really important schemes that have their own criteria to join, and we always recommend you do your due diligence if you are looking at a builder that is either part of the FMB or Trustmark. They have to meet a certain criteria, meet a threshold of quality to be part of those 2 platforms. And so if that's really important to you, make sure that you find out if your builder is part of either of those 2 accreditations. On the Resi platform, we do explain if our contractors are. Some are, some aren't, but we always make clear to you if the builder you're looking at is and is not part of those 2 schemes. What I will say is the FMB, and whilst we don't want to talk about when things go wrong, if things do go wrong and you have a contractor that is part of the FMB, they have a very, very good dispute resolution scheme where you can work with the FMB as a mediator to come to an agreement with your builder if there has been a disagreement, which we don't want to happen, but sometimes it does happen, and that's always good to know about that.
It's like protecting yourself, right? And you want to do as much as you can to eliminate any risk.
Yeah.
And it helps massively.
Yeah, absolutely. The next two are very much linked: meet their clients and visit a site. Most builders should be shouting from the rooftops about projects they've completed. If they've had a fantastic build that looks amazing and shows off their workmanship, then they're absolutely going to want to pass those details on to other customers as long as that client agrees. But most of the time, our builders are happy for our clients to go to site and to meet clients and to visit a project. I mean, in the last week, we've had a handful of customers that we know that have gone out of their way to go to a site to see the quality of work and to get a feel for that builder and have a chat with the client.
Yeah, and I think that what that client says is quite important. So obviously pay attention to sort of how they portray that builder. So like, I think a good question would be, would you use that builder again?
Yeah.
And if they hesitate, that's a bad thing. But of course, if you've got that sort of trust from someone else and they're like, yeah, I wouldn't even tender again, obviously that's an amazing sign.
Yeah, absolutely. So we always try and encourage that. And if a builder is very unwilling for that to happen, then that for us is a red flag. As part of the Resi vetting process for a Connect builder to join our platform is to make sure we have online details of previous customers that we can refer to our new customers if they want to go and meet that builder and have a look at the work they've done. The next thing seems very obvious, but actually is very important. It's an online presence. So does your builder have a website? Is your builder on social media? If your builder does not have a website, that suggests to me that it's unclear about how they're getting their work. Are they getting their work through word of mouth? Are they just a builder who perhaps is not established yet to have a website? Can they not afford a website? There's definitely a few things that would give me cause for concern if they didn't have a website. But things like social media, are they talking about projects on social media? On Instagram, really silly, but if you look at your builder on Instagram, what kind of quality of kind of social content are they making? Can you go on their tagged pictures and see builds where customers are tagging builders? You know, I love Instagram. I follow 1 million interior accounts and 1 million build accounts. And if I can go on Instagram and see that influencer, for instance, or just someone who's got an amazing project has tagged their builder, that more often than not means they're very happy. So online presence is massive. This also links into the review section that I've got here, but we encourage all of our builders to embrace online presence. All of our builders have review pages on Resi where a customer who's had a project with them or completed a project or even in the middle of a project can give feedback. And so that's visible for our new customers. So when you get your shortlist of contractors, you can see all of the reviews and any feedback from previous Resi customers. But we encourage all of our builders to also use Google as a platform. Google My Business it's so important for a small business to have Google My Business and Google business pages. And if they don't, that's also a red flag. So you should see customers engaging with the reviews and contractors also replying to those too. So all of these things combined give you a really good sense about that builder and how they are with other customers and what kind of experience you can possibly imagine that you'll have.
Yeah, and I think it's like being proud of your work as well.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Say you're putting stuff on Instagram and wherever else, I think fine, it's showing off what you've done and how good you are and the quality of what you've produced. Shows like confidence in your build, and the same with reviews, right?
Yeah.
Good reviews, so important for that that social proof that people have all done it and it looks good. So yeah, two are very closely tied, and I think super important. Obviously, Resi being quite online or very online, it's something that we really look for. So important.
And there's a point here, which is our Resi vetting. So again, to be part of the Resi Connect platform and to be in that position to receive introductions to our customers, our Resi builders have to meet quite a high threshold of criteria to make sure that we are happy to have them on the platform. So we make sure they have the relevant insurances in place. So that can be insurances for employers' liability, public liability, and professional indemnity. We check accreditations. We will ask for previous customers and referrals from those customers. We'll do a trade review. We will also check their credit score. So what you are getting with Resi in our Connect platform is a bit of a kind of reassurance that we have vetted the contractor to an agreed standard. And we obviously always encourage you to do your own due diligence, but with Resi, we're always very honest and transparent about the criteria that they have to meet to be part of the Connect platform. And so I wanted to touch here quickly on the aim of the contractor site visit. This is probably the most important part of the process. Normally the site visit comes once the builder has given you an estimate. So via the Resi Connect platform, we open up introductions to our builder platform for you, and you will be receiving between 3 and 5 we aim for, one-line estimates from builders.
Five ideally.
Five estimates from our builders. They will see the design and plans and any other documentation that is on the dashboard. They will review those plans and they will provide a one-line estimate for you with an idea of how much your build will cost. Once you see that, it's a bit like that online dating app Bumble where
Have you been on that, have you?
I've never been on Bumble, where you have
neither.
to, where it's in the customer has to make the engagement with the builder first. So the builder doesn't get your contact details until you go, hey, I like the look of this builder. This is a good one-line estimate. The reviews are good. I've done my due diligence. Let's engage. And at that point, we encourage you to have a site visit. And so it's really important for a number of reasons. Site visit is important for you, and it's also really important for the builder. So from the builder side, they want to go and see the property. They want to knock on a few walls, check
the drainage.
Check the drainage. They will obviously have access to loads of documentation about your project. They'll know the design, they'll know the plans, they'll have seen that already on our platform, but it's a chance for them to see the property in full. Where is it? What's the access like? What is the footprint of the property like? They can go around and have a proper look at the property, but also they get a chance to meet you. And it's a two-way thing, a bit like dating. You need to make sure you're happy with them and they're happy with you. And it's a chance for you to kind of build a bit of rapport with that builder. And although it shouldn't be, a lot of this is gut instinct. If you meet that builder and you connect and you vibe and it feels good and you trust them and you like them, then 9 times out of 10, that's often the builder we see our customer go for.
Yeah, definitely. And we're getting to the stuff in a sec on the tendering and the price, because that's obviously important. If you can't afford it, it's not a project. But you don't get to that stage if you don't build rapport with a builder.
Yeah.
And you get to site and it just doesn't work. The communication's bad, you don't feel engaged, and there's no sort of solutions, there's no good energy about this site visit, then you're just going to go, well, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't want you to tender. And that's what we see. So that's the first key step, definitely.
Yeah. These builders will be in your property or around your property for 6 to 12 months. Lots of our customers move out, but some customers live in the site while the work is done, where possible. These builders will be under your feet for 12 months. You need to be sure that you like them, you engage with them, and you feel good about working with them. It's a chance for you to meet your team, who will be there on site, what will it look like, and it's a good opportunity for you to just see how you feel. And also, I don't think you can see it because I think our face is covering the screen, but the next stage is to also discuss the scope of work in more detail. If you've got crazy ideas about fancy marble in the kitchen, or you want to slightly tweak one of the designs slightly, or you want to do something crazy in the bathroom, it's a chance for you to speak to the builder and say, by the way, I want to put 10 grand's worth of Carrara marble in my bathroom. Are you up for that? That kind of thing is really important. So it's a good chance to scope out that work and find out a little bit more about them.
Yeah, and I think on that scope as well, what you tend to find is that, and this sort of relates to the sort of communication and the solution bit from the builder, is that when they then go away, do you see all of the things you discussed on the site visit then in the tender? Because I often see it where like the odd things missed, and like that attention to detail whereby they've taken into account everything that you've said, and it's really considered, it's all in the tender, it's broken out, and it's very, very clear. It's just really nice. It's just really reassuring that they're listening. So that's a good one.
Yeah. So we're going to hand over to Rich now to talk about reviewing tenders.
Okay. So 3 key bits to the tender itself. So first, we'll start with the big one, price.
Should we actually just say what a tender is? I'm sure people will know what a tender is,
but
maybe let's just go back to basics and just make sure.
Fine. So you will see if you've ever done this before or haven't. It's basically a document that's going to tell you a few things. So a little bit about the company. They might have a little bit of blurb about themselves, almost certainly. Then there'll be a breakdown of the project and a price against all of the elements of that project. So it'll go into construction. It might be the floors, the walls, the ceilings, plumbing, electrics. So there's a few bits to this, and they look very, very different all of the time, which is not helpful. But what we do at Resi and what you should do in general is really try and compare them like for like. That's what you're trying to do here. So the overall price is the price, and within that, it's broken down into 2 parts. So the first is the bit for the builder. So it's all construction stuff. So like I sort of said, it's going to be steel work, how much concrete is used to pour the floor slab and the walls and the bricks. So that's fine. They're going to do their building side of things. Yeah. The second part will be things that the client yourself is then going to do. So two big examples are like kitchens and glazing. So a lot of contractors will say that's on the client, so specialist to supply and install. So therefore your price is made up of two things, the build and your list of stuff as a client to go and provide. So two examples were kitchen and glazing, but finishes, because you might want marble, like I think Liv does. You might want anything bespoke, so it might fall outside of the contractor remit. So think of that as your price. And then when you get into the detail, so when you physically see these tenders, some might be an Excel spreadsheet, some might be a PDF where it's more visual and it's broken down different ways. Some might be from a bit of software that then goes into loads of detail and you see a really good breakdown of how things and where your money's going to be spent. I like to see the more detailed approach, but you get contractors that give you a bit of a price on a one-page document, which fine to start off with, but you just really want to see where your money lies.
You need to see the detail.
Completely, because then how do you negotiate? How do you know where you're spending your money? You just don't know, so it's just really difficult. So lots of detail is a good thing, but I think that on the detail bit, you need to be clear. So if there's loads of detail and it's not very clear, it's really confusing, and you've got all these technical terms. Like where do you even start? Like, how do you know that it's a good price if it's just not legible? Yeah. So
contractors need to know that not all of us are experts, and sometimes we need things super clear and transparent, because having to query a tender and look at them is difficult.
It's
really
difficult
tricky.
when you know what you're doing. Yeah. You're reading some and they could be like 30 pages long, and like, okay, well, we need to pick out key things here. And on the key things, and it goes to inclusions here, we usually start with about 12-ish things, 10 to 12 things, which are big items that can be in there or not. So kitchens, bespoke carpentry, glazing, plumbing, electrics, sanitary ware, garden, finishes. And within each of these categories, you've got different things. So you go a level into like plumbing, and it's like, well, do you include radiators and how many? Underfloor heating, are you including for a new boiler? Are you relocating the existing one? So your sort of list goes on within each of these categories. So we'll break it down and we'll try and be very, very clear how this contractor A compares to this contractor B. And what we often find is that like contractor A, if they included everything that contractor B did, are they then competitive? And they may or may not be. Sometimes it's a big yes. It's like, well, they're all actually really quite comparable. Other times, just no chance. This contractor A would never get near the other builder if they included all of the scope that someone else did. So it's really trying to make sense of these documents that look different, have different level of detail, and have different inclusions or exclusions in each of them. So, but once you've done that, then you sort of come to a sort of a fair price, and you can work out that like, that's a good price for what I'm going to get, or that's a really bad one. And then you're going to eliminate the contractors based on site visit, rapport, pretty huge, and then this tender. And then you move on to the sort of next step. Yeah,
because part of what we offer here at Resi is a tender review call. Once you've done that whole introduction and you've done the estimates, you've had your site visit, and let's say you have 4 or 5 contractors you really like and you've asked for a tender from them. Once those tenders are received and they're sent via our dashboard, they're sent to you, Rich and my colleague Hafsa, they spend a bit of time preparing for a call with you, and it can be 45 minutes to an hour and a half. They can be fairly lengthy. But the idea is that we will review those tenders free of charge for you, go through them together, we'll compare them, we'll pull out those details, we'll identify, did you know that builder A and builder B, one of them has quoted for 20 radiators, but this one's only quoted for 5. You know, we'll pull out those bits for you. So essentially, we're your eyes for you. Rich has a huge amount of technical knowledge, and for someone like me, who is a lay person and perhaps is not familiar with looking at tenders, that bit of knowledge is amazing. And so we'll do that on a tender review call for you, and so help you hopefully come to a decision about your builder. But this part of the tendering process and reviewing a tender is probably one of the most tricky parts of finding a builder.
Yeah, and it can be quite time consuming, right? Like everyone's sort of busy. When do you set aside hours of your time to go through documents and spreadsheets and stuff? Some people really love it and they break it down and do their own sort of work, but a lot of people just trying to understand what it says first fix.
Me Googling what 2x4 is.
Second fix.
What's sanitary ware?
And you're like, what is underfloor heating? Yeah, exactly. What stage are you taking me to? So yeah, anyway, I think to the point being that trying to make sense of it so you can make a decision to move forward is important to get a good builder. Appointing that builder. So there's a few bits to this. The first is very obvious. So if they can't start when you're looking to start, it doesn't really work unless you're maybe willing to wait because it's a really great builder, a really great price. But start dates, and life circumstances.
Yeah, we've talked about that. So many people we know.
Children, you need space. So work around that. I think that builders have been busy for a number of years, so some really get booked up. So I think that really knowing what that is and working towards that and having a sort of level of urgency to sort of keep things moving because the process can be pretty lengthy. Is good.
You consider the start date, but also the end date. I think at the beginning of this year, we were all saying, I'm sure so many people post-Christmas decided that was it. No more. We're doing no more Christmases in this house as it is. I cannot bear to have Granny sitting on that deck chair one more time. Yeah. So we had to do. I mean, we had to do 2 sittings for Christmas dinner. So many people would have come back into the new year really invigorated to find a builder and to get their project done. And so for us, it's not only start date but end date. If you want to be sitting in your beautiful extension for Christmas and have a lovely 20-person table or whatever it is you want, then you need to think about what the end date will be. You know, start dates are all well and good, but you need to also consider when do you want to be in by, when are you wanting to be finished by, when will the final fix be done, and when will you be in your property.
And then I'll sort of skip a little bit to 3, 4 and 5 here. So contracts, program and payment terms are all really closely linked. So contracts, you have JCT contract, you have a Federal Master Builder contract, you have RIBA contracts, you have builders that sort of make up contracts, and there's a bit of a mash of different clauses and terms. So I suppose the top line being have a contract and append certain things to this. So the idea is you append as much detail as you can, because there's ever disputes or additional extras when you're on site, you can point to something and go, well, it's in the contract, and it's like, it's on this drawing, or it's on that scope, or it's in this set of room data sheets. So there it is, we've got a price for it. So that's important to have something there. I think, look, everyone does do a contract in some form. And then the program and payment terms. So I actually think the most important thing is the payment terms, but it's linked to the program. Yeah. So the program will set out 16 weeks as an example. You want to know that your deposit is paid at the start. So say it's a 10 to 15% deposit, and then you pay milestones as the program progresses. And this is a really obvious thing to say. It's like pay as the works progress. You see, like, you're on milestone 2, and you pay, and you move on, and you keep doing this. You keep a little bit back at the end, a little retention, which is written into a contract, and that incentivizes the builder to complete snagging, to get the practical completion certificate from builder control, and there might be a little grace period where they might be making good of maybe sort of 3 to 6 months of I suppose a sort of assurance from the builder that they're going to come back and put stuff right. So that's your main protection. And the horror story stuff you hear and probably sort of see on programs is that the builder takes loads of money up front, and you're essentially cash flowing their business, and they walk off site, and there's not much you can do about that. So payment terms, fair and realistic on the program, all appended and put into the contract. Super key. And once you're sort of set there, I think that's you've at least got the basis down there.
And in terms of contracts, so you briefly touched on the types of contracts. So we have a JCT contract. That is the Rolls Royce of contracts, right? That is like the industry gold standard.
Is the one for extensions typically, which, I mean, you can read them. There's a lot of clauses and stuff in there. But I think essentially it covers like program and payment terms well. Disputes and clauses,
all that kind of stuff is in there. It's got a
yeah.
proper payment term and really clearly set out. But the other two contracts, an RIBA and a Federation of Master Builders, are all just as good. They're just, we could say, less thorough. They don't have the kind of bells and whistles that a JCT would have. But we have a mix of, on our platform builders, have a mix of use of JCT, but also the FMB contract too.
Yeah. Okay.
You going to go to negotiation?
Important
one, yeah. You got to negotiate, guys. Don't just pay.
Yeah, now you just pay. Definitely do that. No, I think then you're down to your two favourite contractors. There's a few ways to do this, and the most sort of like top line is you're speaking to both contractors, and you sort of just, as a genuine question, close to making a decision, is it the best price that you can do? And some builders will move to win a project, some won't. The ask will probably be that can you de-scope in a certain way to reduce cost? Maybe you can, maybe you don't want to. But I think just asking the question is worth doing. The second and more detailed way is back to reviewing the tenders again, pick out bits that maybe are costly in comparison to someone else. So if builder A is like 20 grand on steelwork, but builder B is 5 grand, well, does this sort of stack up? And because you've done the tendering, I should have said actually you want to get about 3 or 4 good tenders, you've got a bit of an average actually across the similar segments, and you can use that, work with ideally your favourite builder to try and come to a place together that you want to work together, but is there movement on this because the other 3 people were half the price? Then the third way is you can play the role of a QS if you wanted to.
What's a QS, just in case people don't know?
Quantity surveyor, sorry, Liv. And break down every single line, put a cost in a spreadsheet against all of these bits, and you can do the sort of second negotiation thing, but on every single item. And really scrutinise each of the tenders and try and form them in a way that you get the best out of every single bit. So that's another way to do it. I think my general gut feeling with it is that the first way is usually the most typical, and probably would be my approach to start off with, to be honest. I think that if you're going to do the QSE type route, you're sort of saying, I don't really trust your pricing right. And does that kick the whole thing off in a way which is instills trust because you want to work together, and you also don't want to grind a builder down to a price which is so low that they just come on site and have to charge you stuff later on.
They need to be motivated to do your project as well, and I think we always know that if it's a rock bottom price, there's a reason for it, and
it just
that
come
should
back
be
to
concerned.
bite you, right? So you want to, it needs to be a realistic price. That's why picking anomalies is fine, but grinding every single thing, I'm not as favoured with that. That being said, each to their own, I suppose.
I think a lot of our builders will give you the best price. Ultimately, they're incentivized. They want to win your work. They want to win this project. You know, we have positions where we have builders that are, all competing for the same project, and they will look at other builder prices. The customer will discuss that with them. But most of our builders are really incentivized to win the work, and they want to do the best job possible. And ultimately, they're happy to enter into negotiations, but don't expect to get something for nothing. Essentially, you have to pay for the project that you want, the finish that you want.
Exactly, and I think timing as well. You could time the say the negotiation or the start date, sort of maybe either and both, at a point where the contractor needs work. There might be a little gap, and you're like, great, you've timed it well, you've asked the question, and your project type is filling the need for them and maybe their subcontractors, because they can bring some people over to your project. And so you could time it right as well. So that's why it's worth doing.
Okay, the good bit, the dream.
Getting on site in building.
Getting on site. So you've gone through all that pain, you've tendered, you've found your builder, and you're ready, you've contracted, you've paid your little sum, you've moved out, you've taken your sofa out and covered it up.
You haven't moved out yet.
Oh, okay, you haven't moved out yet.
Sorry. Well, you might have done.
We might have done, yeah.
So I think it's more like a checklist to make sure you've done these things before you start. So insurances, Liv touched upon the vetting, so contractors should have insurances.
Will have insurance.
Yeah, will have insurances. Speak to your own provider to make sure that you're covered. Some are absolutely fine, depends on your terms. Some might be, well, you need to get extra cover, so
And if you don't, we can introduce you to a third party who can do renovation insurance. Yeah, that's incredibly important. We've seen this weekend with the high winds, we had a project where some hoarding blew over because of the high winds, and that's the kind of thing that's covered under insurance. It's really important that you make sure you've got the right insurance and you're covered, because you know, things do go wrong, and it's just important that you've got that safety net, and we can introduce you to a renovation insurance specialist if you don't have it with your own provider.
Party Wall Act is something you legally need to do. I need to serve notice 2 months prior to the works starting, so make sure that's ticked off. Approved inspector is a private version of building control. So you've got the council, an approved inspector, which is a private person or company, and they need to be notified before you start the works, or appointed, I should say. They come along on site and check the works as it progresses to make sure that it complies with your building regs. So do that before you start. And then the final two, so have a walk around. I think really obvious one, sit down, get the drawings, get all the documents, have the contract, all of it, and just sense check it one final time, make sure
with the builder, right?
With the builder, yeah, sorry. The price is the price.
Yeah.
And then once you're sort of both happy, fine. Living arrangements, Liv sort of briefly touched on this. Do you want to live through some of the build? Are you going to go away throughout the whole thing? Go away throughout the whole thing if you can afford to. It's not always
some
possible.
People will live in whilst an extension is done.
Depends what it is.
Yeah, if you're happy to peel the dust sheet off your duvet when you get into bed at night, and if you can live through the dust, and you then live there. But I guess that's a consideration to always factor in when you're doing this project.
Yeah, and different project types will allow this or not. So a full house renovation, you're not going to live through this. I mean, health and safety, I mean, it's just not a thing.
Yeah.
But you might be doing a loft, and one of the sort of last-ish things is knocking through and putting the stairs in. Yeah. So tin hat from above, you might be good for a number of weeks, or a garden room out the back. So yeah, living arrangements, and then getting all of that sort of set and in place before you start. Tick these things off, and then work towards that start date. If you build documents ready, price is good, contracts in place, I think you're there.
Start looking at paint samples.
Finishes. Then look at all the list of stuff that you've got to do. Finishes, kitchen, glazing. So yeah.
Cool. So that was, it felt like a very brief run through of all the important things to look for when you're finding a builder. I know we've got some questions, so I'm going to lean forward. I'm sorry, you're going to see my face real close. Right, let's start from the beginning. Richard Whiteley, if I get a quote for a builder through Resi, how do I know where this quote sits relative to the wider market? Thanks, Rich.
Okay, so on this one, Richard, we, as part of this tender review call, we've got our ones, I say the ones that come through the dashboard, but any other ones that you have from anyone, we would also compare them against each other. So whether you upload it into a file folder on our dashboard, or you send it to us in an email or message, because you need the holistic view of all of them. I think that answers your question.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one, Liv.
What's the next one? So MS. How much would a project manager cost? Could you give us a rough idea? Maybe some examples would be helpful. So
depends, and that's not a definitive answer. So there's different levels of project management as such. So if you've got a contract administrator that's just doing that side of things and just is there on maybe an ad hoc basis where they turn up to site, and if there's any disputes, you've got someone turn up and check the contract, check the extras, then they might charge you a day rate and do it once a week.
Yeah.
Whereas full-on project management
is more expensive.
Like sourcing all of the materials, running the whole program, and doing all of this, I think probably expect to pay in the region of, depends again, 5 to 7% of the overall tender sum to run that side of things.
Yeah, but they are invaluable, and you might have a contractor that has project managers built into their costs. Yeah. But we also have, as part of our Connect service, we can introduce you to other suppliers. We have a couple of very, very strong project managers that can come to you and discuss your needs and can give you a fixed price for visits, and then kind of charge a percentage of the tender sum. Right? They'll do it based on that.
Yeah, it sort of depends sort of what you want on a sliding scale. If it's just administer contract, be available for things that might crop up on site, and extras and stuff and disputes, versus just do the whole thing, like source everything. And the sliding scale very much changes. But we can help with what that looks like. We have fee proposals specific to projects if you want to sort of see what that looks like.
Anonymous, will you be expanding your Connect services as it appears you only can serve the Southeast? So currently we can serve Southeast, you're right, so inside and outside the M25. We are seeing more and more clients kind of going towards Berkshire, Southampton, Portsmouth, Oxfordshire, Gloucestershire. I am looking for excellent builders at all times, and we're definitely growing that side of it. We do have lots of builders who do serve a little bit further out, but if you wanted to get in touch and you were interested in looking at builders that we can introduce you to, there are likely to be builders that we've already started to work with who will cover that area. So we're always looking to extend and expand. So conversely, if you're a builder watching this and you do want to look at joining our Connect platform, we'll share the details after this, I think, about how you can get in touch and speak to us about what we can do for you. It's Richard Whiteley. We've got two from Richard. We're doing back to back. How invasive is the build process? I have a wife and 2 young children and ideally want to stay in the home during the build. Do you have any builders who are less invasive than others? Thanks, Richard.
It depends what it is, Richard. It's the first thing, like I sort of said. If it's something that can be constructed mainly in isolation and you sort of leave a wall in place. So, but I'll be really honest, as soon as you knock through and you combine 2 spaces and open them out, it's really messy, it's dusty.
You're a dad of 2, Rich, could you do this? Also, Richard, also a dad of 2, could you?
Good man.
Is it you?
Yeah, I'm on my phone. So it does depend if you can do this, and also depends on things like access as well. So if you're in a terraced house, and you've got someone that has to come through to do digging for foundations in the back of your garden, it's very different to if you're a detached house, right? And you can get a different way to navigate around. So access is quite a big thing to also think about. So hopefully that helps. But people certainly do, and certainly builders make arrangements whereby they put in like temporary kitchens and stuff, so you can actually live through there as long as you want to. So most are pretty amenable, I would say.
Richard also asks, how early is it to appoint a builder? Thanks. It's never too early to appoint a builder. Obviously, it actually is at points too early to appoint a builder, but we always say that if you are in the process of getting planning is approved and you start to look towards building regulations, that's a great time to find a builder. If you are in a very kind of popular area, perhaps you're southeast, southwest London, and good builders get booked up quickly, then it's never too early to start that search. And if you come to us and you decide you want to start your search up, at that point we'd absolutely find you the builder that you need for your project. What I would say is that, and Rich can maybe talk more on this, is that if you are finding a builder and you haven't got your building regulations drawings done yet, building regulations drawings are the kind of more technical drawings that are needed for the builder to actually build your project, then it is worth
and
just
price,
bearing in mind. That's it. That's
price
what I was. You've taken my point, but it's the point. The point is the price. Building regulations drawings, if you don't have them yet, the price can change. A builder cannot properly tender without them. He needs to know the very, very technical part of what the build is so that he can price properly.
Yeah, and we see both sides of the coin, right? The customer side and the builder side. And for a builder, I think getting there early is super important because the whole thing can take a long time and you want to get in there with the good builders. But like, say you haven't got planning permission, some builders won't even sort of look at the project or consider it. And to Liv's point, if there's no detail, you're not going to get a reflective, accurate price.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
Yeah, it's never too early, but also there is.
Neil, hi Neil. Neil asks, you might be covering this later, but I'd like to ask how to verify the various types of insurance that the builder needs to have. What insurance policy should they have? Do they just provide insurance certificates, or should we see the full policy? And can we call up the insurance company to verify the insurance is valid? So, insurance. I'll talk about what's needed and what the builders have to be on Resi. So you should have employer's liability insurance, public liability insurance, and we like to also see professional indemnity insurance. Those 3 together are the kind of gold standard for insurance that builders should have. To be part of the Resi Connect platform, builders are asked to provide evidence of all 3 of those things. Employer's liability and public liability are non-negotiables. We must have those. up to I think a valuation of £5 million, we have to have that as a policy on our system. Professional indemnity is something that not all builders have, but it's important to have. It kind of is an indemnity against their professional work. And so some of our builders choose to have it and some of them don't, and we are transparent about the builders that do and don't have that. But if you work with Resi and you come to our platform, we have a copy of all of the insurance documents of our builders. They are uploaded into our system. We see the original document. It's safe and we've got a copy of it. The moment that insurance expires, the builder is paused on our platform. We do not let them look at any more projects until we have proof of that insurance. So if you are not using our platform and you're doing this solo, I personally, knowing what I know now, I would want to see a copy of their insurance. I would want to see, to be confident that if I wanted to call up the insurer and confirm that insurance policy, I could. But if they've gone to the trouble of sending you that policy, 9 times out of 10, they've actually got that policy in place. They normally have to pay, unlike car insurance for us, they have to pay a lump sum to have that insurance up front. So if you've got the policy document, you're pretty good. But I personally now would want at least employer's liability, at least public liability, but I'd like to see professional indemnity too. Ella, hi Ella. On the Resi platform, my project on Resi Connect is showing as looking for contractors and has been for a few months. What are the team doing upstairs? Does that mean there are no Resi approved contractors that are interested in my project? Ella, no, that shouldn't be the case. If we have different kind of strings and levers that we can pull to find you a contractor, so we should be able to kind of open up searches to different types of contractor to find that for you. So Ella, I've got your name now. I've made a mental note of it. I'll ask your account manager to have a quick look at your project after this webinar so we can see. But there's 9 times out of 10 we're able to find you at least 3 contractors that can do your project. Sometimes if contractors are super busy or you're in a trickier location that maybe we don't service as well, it could be harder to find them, but absolutely we'll do what we can to try and get you a contractor. So leave that with me and I'll pick that up after this. Bav asks a question. What is your advice for builders that insist payments are split periodically, e.g. fortnightly, but against the Gantt chart?
Ooh, against the Gantt chart. I think this is back to the programme. I think that whether it's presented in a Gantt chart or whether it's sort of in a bit of a time frame, whether it's in an Excel sheet, I think that payments fortnightly or weekly is a good thing, but it depends on the weighting of those payments. So what I mean by weighting is it all front loaded with the amount of money you're spending? So what's the distribution of the overall sum across all the milestones is pretty key. I wouldn't be too bothered about the format, but certainly the weighting and frequency sounds good. A couple of months, I think.
If they've it's just like a periodic thing, like you should in stages. So I should be able to know that the bottom stage would be foundation, for instance.
Yeah, and labelled. So
it should be easy for someone who's not technical understand. I only pay you X amount once X amount is completed.
Yeah, and so you're on week 4, and it says the steelwork design. There's some not too technical, and there's no steelwork on site or put up anywhere. Like you're not at that stage of the build, right? So this is where understanding it and being clearly on the time frames, and then that distribution. Essentially, if you've paid up to that point and this is not done, then you're behind.
Okay, cool, thank you. And we had a compliment. All is good. Thanks. Accreditation organisation. I'm sorry, I talked too fast. I apologise for that. The 2 accreditation organisations you need to know. Federation of Master Builders, also known as the FMB, so you can look them up and get on their website. The other one is Trustmark, all one word, and that is the government-approved accreditation company to use. It's a scheme that builders have to apply to. It's government-approved, which must mean it's got the gold rubber stamp, but that's the accreditation you need to look at. Lucy, bye Lucy, thanks for joining. Caroline Newman, can you explain the approved inspector role again, please?
Okay. So essentially you've got a set of drawings that come after planning called your building regulations drawings, and these will encompass things like the build-up, so the detail there will be like what insulation's in the floor. You have like proper sections that cut through and tell the builder what to build. There's also compliance things like fire regulations, so means of escape, heat loss, and this set of drawings does 2 things. It ensures that compliance and gets you that accurate cost from the builder. So this person, the approved inspector, is a private company that inspect those drawings to make sure they comply. And then when you go on site, they also physically go there and go, well, we need to check your foundations, let's have a look. You check your steelwork, let's have a look. So that's what they do. And then at the end, they will issue a certificate of completion saying, you've done your build.
Yeah.
As far as the building regs are concerned, and there's loads of parts to them, you've got compliance. The builder's done their job as far as we're concerned here.
It's not a certificate of like good workmanship,
Yeah,
is it? It's more that it just has to meet these standards, regulations.
Stuff.
So it's like fire doors.
Yeah. So that's what, and obviously the stuff with like energy efficiency.
Yeah.
So they might change. So you might need to spec more insulation within a certain build-up. So they make sure that that's happened and it's on our drawings, and the builder's physically done that. So they're quite an important person.
Yeah.
As far as the works go, and we recommend approved inspectors. Versus
Private ones,
versus council.
And we have a great approved inspector that works on our platform. We can introduce you to them and you can work with them through our platform. We always like to use the approved inspector that we've recommended purely because it means that we have a relationship with them instead of a third party. So imagine you, us and your independent approved inspector. It can get a bit messy, but if you use the inspector that we recommend, it means that we've got a better relationship with them.
Yeah, and I think they're generally a bit more flexible, better communication, a bit easier to work with.
Okay, Anonymous. If your builder says they can project manage the build, should you go with that? Or is it better to have an independent party, e.g. an architect to project manage? So we have some builders that will offer to project manage for you. I know a number of builders that have very, very good project managers on site. And if your build is of a certain value, normally they bake that into the tender, don't they? If it's a high value project, large sum of money, they will include their own project manager. It's completely dependent on what you want and cost, I assume. It's going to be based on whether you are happy to have the project manager from the builder or you think you might need a third party. We recommend both. Obviously, you could argue that a third party might have your best interest at heart rather than the builder's best interests. But we hope
that's where like the sort of should I go independent or like do I trust? But essentially, a good builder should project manage themselves essentially. But how much you want that reassurance that someone else has got your back, it depends on your circumstance, the size of the project, how much money you want to sort of spend. But I do hear that quite a lot.
We can be introduced both via our platform.
See what one would cost to have an independent one and sort of make a decision.
Resi tender document. If one is going to use a QS, would it not be better to use before sending out a tender to draft a more detailed tender document?
Okay, so I think this refers, using a QS to produce a sort of template and a scope. It can be done that way. I think that the difference is that you pay for a QS to draft that up and their time versus us, we do this as part of reviewing the builder stuff. So I think it depends on the project size and complexity. If there's lots going on and you really want to get a bit of a scope and template nailed down from a QS, every tender from the builders and input into these, and then you can analyse with your QS. I think absolutely fine. It's a very robust way to do that, but you could have paid for this person's time, and it can not be that cheap.
We've got loads of questions, so I'm going to try and whiz through as many as we can, like short, high, quick fire. Adam Jefferson, should I expect the builder to provide the contract? What level of input should I have? The builder will provide the contract, and to be honest, in terms of the type, you'll have no input. They'll tell you what contract they're using. You could try and push the builder to use a different type if you wanted, but it might be kind of falling on deaf ears. They're used to using a specific type of contract. You can definitely have input to things like time and end date and finish date and pricing and program.
Payment milestones.
You can have input to that. Yeah. In terms of the type, you've got no choice on that. They'll normally use the type of contract that they feel most comfortable with, but you should absolutely have input into what's in the content of the contract. Oliver Whitney, I think, Oliver, you're one of our clients, aren't you? I recognise your name. When you request quotes through Resi, can you include extra services you may require that you know you'll be doing rather than just looking at the plans? For example, extension will require full rewire, extra scaffolding for solar install.
Yeah, so I think this one here...
That won't happen at the quote estimate stage, it will be at tender stage, right?
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of bits to this. So back to the site visit bit.
Yeah.
Any specifics that you want, obviously you mentioned, and then you can append anything that you want to go out to tender. So if you want to sort of do like a mini scope of works, essentially, we have a document called a set of room data sheets that by room, you can fill in what you want in each of the rooms. So your items you list there, you might want 10 extra sockets in your kitchen. So in which case you put it on this and then the contractor has something to look at to price against. So yeah,
okay.
Suggest.
Ian Davey, how do we ensure that a reference site is representative of the builder's work rather than just the builder selecting one of their better projects? That's a really good question. 9 times out of 10, the builder's obviously going to select their very, very best project for you. But with a bit of digging, you can find out a lot of the names of the projects of customers that have gone before them. So a builder should give you a project that they're proud of and they think they've got a good relationship with. You won't be able to see previous projects via the Resi platform, but you will be able to see honest feedback from our customers. We don't censor our reviews for our contractors. If a customer's had a bad experience, obviously we've done everything we can to negate that being the case, but you will get honest reviews from our Resi platform. You'll also get honest reviews from places like the FMB, from Trustmark, from Google. So it's a tricky one to kind of navigate, but I think if you have a builder that is stepping over themselves to give you lots of customer names and lots of customer sites and they've got good reviews, the honest answer is that you are likely to be working with a very good builder who will give you a good experience. But if you want to have a chat about that, please let us know, and again we'll share our contact details at the end of this. Would you recommend the client sourcing materials, tiles, brick, wood flooring, or have the builder supply?
So I think it can work either way, and sometimes when you see it where it's sort of like client supplied, it can mean client chooses. So the builder will have like trade accounts, they will know where to get materials from.
Yeah.
So depends, but I think that more it's your selection of what it is physically.
Yeah. Gore asked about improved inspectors visiting the site prior to work starting. They normally they go to site actually when the build is in progress, right? There's different stages they go in.
Starts. Yeah. And I think, sorry to jump in, I'm a little bit rushed.
Carry on.
I think prior to the start bit, they will review the drawings and can sort of get you a bit of a conditional approval as such. So if you were to build by this, you in theory comply. So we encourage that they do a planned check.
Yeah. Stefan, would it make sense to find my own subcontractors for trades, i.e. air source heat pump, great choice, and UFH? Who should be responsible for purchasing things like tiles and sanitary ware, doors? You, I think, is the answer, short answer to that.
I think so, typically speaking, yes. Some contractors will do that, again, back to the point on the trades. So I think ask the question, but what's your preference? If you want to control costs, then you do a little bit more yourself and you go and select these things.
We also have some great people to recommend for air source heat pumps. We did a really, really great webinar that you might not have catched last week. Was it last week? Week before? 2 weeks. About retrofitting, which I'm sure there's access to on YouTube, and it's got loads of information about things like air source heat pumps. So Stefan, I will make sure I send that to you after this, so you've got you can see it if you would like to. Rob is working with Nick Stockley, one of our architects that works with Resi. Room in planning applications are installing renewables and microgeneration. Customers offer room in solutions. This is a long question, Rob. I tell you what, Rob, I'm going to respond to this separately on email because I think it's quite long and it involves us having a chat. We'll have a look about that.
As well. Yeah,
Imran, if the contractor asks for 20% deposit before the work starts, is it normal to pay before work starts?
So is it
normal to pay?
Yes, normal to pay before work starts.
Yeah.
On the amount and the percentage, it depends on the size of the project, but I think anywhere between 10 and 20 I feel comfortable. When you sort of get a bit higher than that, I feel a bit uncomfortable. There's a bit of risk.
Yeah. Anonymous, are payment terms part of the tender document? Yes, they will be.
Appended to the contract.
Yeah. That's really important. I think if you don't have that in the contract, then that's concerning, but it will be in the tender document too, so you can compare and you can see which contractors and how their payments work. Sushma, do you also help with smaller projects such as kitchen, bathroom remodelling? We can help you with that as well. I guess there is no project too small or big for Resi. We do have contractors that will do that as well. So again, we'll share you our details after this. So if you want to send an inquiry through, you absolutely can. Robert is asking about drains. Can a shared drain prevent extending a kitchen?
Yes, but it's unlikely. I think that it depends on a couple of things. So the first is the invert level. So if you've got a real shallow drain and you can't divert a drain somewhere else because you need it to fall always downhill, then that can happen. It's unlikely. The more likely thing is that you've got to support over this drain, maybe have an inspection chamber in your garden. And then as a result, like where are your foundations? Do they move? Do you have some sort of bridging detail? Do you have a structural beam go in the ground to sort of go over this?
A drainage survey would be good for this. Right?
Yeah, so assessing where they are is one thing. You absolutely should to know what to do. But will it stop you doing your extension is the question. I think that find out this information, like Liv said, assess that, have it drawn up properly. It's like I said, it's pretty rare, to be honest, very, very rare. But it can cost you a bit more and be a bit awkward sometimes.
Yeah, time-wise.
But to be honest, the drainage and moving drains is in almost every project of some sort.
Anonymous attendee, planning approved almost. Woo. Can we get a useful estimate prior to building control drawings? Yes, you absolutely can get a useful estimate before building regulations. Building regulations drawings are just important because they will refine that tender a little bit more for you. So agree, get an estimate once planning's approved, and then maybe get your final tender once Bregs is done. Yeah. Joe, does the contract confirm the end date? This is just me looking at contract law in my head. It should have an end date, because if you don't, you can get liquidated damages, right? If you're not on there in your property on time, if it's a JCT, you can charge them for not being in your property when they agreed.
Yeah, and it's got the programme appended to that, and like Liv said, I mean, there are clauses where you can penalise sort of late development. It's not that common in domestic stuff, to be honest, and sort of what you want to do there, really. But yes.
Yeah. Oliver, how do tenders generally explain material costs that could change, and how should a client prepare or know if this has been considered? E.g. build in 18 months, materials could change dramatically in that time. Yeah, absolutely. The macroeconomic environment, as Alex loves to say, changes all the time at the moment, and we've been through a couple of phases where materials have changed quite dramatically in price. Builders should be discussing that with you. A lot of them will have a validation for their tenders, so their tender is only valid for X amount of months, right?
Yeah, so there's some say like 30 days, which is pretty quick, to be honest. Most will honour actually longer than this. Liv, you got a slack thing on there.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, can't control the costs of stuff, obviously, that's a bigger thing. But yeah, certainly, and some will honour it for a grace period as well. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. But yes, material will change. We've been through a couple of periods of that where prices have changed, and builders will be very honest with you. They will tell you that they think prices are going to change, or they'll know from their trade accounts what's moving, and they'll be honest with you about it. But the key there is locking in a tender. Negotiate with your builder. If you know you have a start date and you want to lock it in, the builder should be honest with you about the materials that he thinks will change in price. Anonymous attendee, what are your thoughts on design and build companies?
Oh, massive question. Huge question.
Well,
do you want?
I mean,
we can. My opinion.
Well, I think Resi is not a design and build company. There are lots of design and build companies. What they can do is give you a very, very clear cost certainty on what you want to do for smaller projects. We know a lot of them. A lot of them are very well respected. It's not what Resi does. We are.
I think.
You think?
Obviously, we do it in a traditional sense, and there's a build and design and build way. And there's pros and cons to both. I think that the benefits of doing it in a way that we do it is that you have full control over the design and the detail and the tendering. So you have all the comparisons with different builders. So you're in control of all of this. Whereby if you go to a design and build company, convenience and a sort of locked in price is there. Yeah. That's good for a lot of people. It's really
good for people that are budget conscious. But there are, I mean,
you're restricted to that builder, really early tied in, and like. You might want to choose your glazing as an example, but they'll have a supplier and you're going to get what you're given because it's an all-encompassing design that they're then going to build. So personally, the way we do it, it gives you the control and all of the things I've said, but there is a positive to the design and build way of doing things, but it's just different to what we do. We've just launched Resi Ready, which is standardised designs for ground floor rear extensions. We've got this amazing design configurator that's on our homepage. So if you're looking for a very straightforward ground floor rear extension and you want to customise and have a look at the type of render and the type of roof and the type of glazing and to get a really good idea of the price, you can do that now. It's on our homepage. It's the design configurator. It's really fun to play around with. You can choose the size of it. You can choose render. You can choose zinc, cladding, all this kind of stuff. And the idea is at the end of it, you get a rough idea of what that cost will be. And so although that's slightly different because you still will go to tender and builders will still tender for it, unlike design and build companies that lock you in with a price, Resi can give you a very, very good idea on that. And there's lots of fixed price for structural drawings too. It's really worth having a look if you're in the space for a ground floor rear extension. Bit of a plug for Resi Ready. Paul Ringsell, I think we've answered this already at the earlier question, Paul, but planning approved almost, can we get useful construction estimate? Yes, you can. Estimate would be good at planning approval stage, but once you get to building regs and to get that kind of drawings for building, that's when your tender will come in. It's much more sort of concrete.
Helpful, thank you, that's really good. Can I use a Resi builder if I didn't do my designs with you? Absolutely, you can. We call it direct to connect. You can come straight in and use the Connect platform if you want to find a builder, the ones that we have vetted and we recommend that you use. We can introduce them to you on the platform. You don't have to have used Resi. You just need to have your drawings, ideally your building regulations drawings all done so that we can get the right kind of estimates for you. Do builders or Resi provide private approved building control companies that we can use? Yeah. We have one approved inspector that we recommend that are private. You can do council or private, as Rich has already gone into. But 9 times out of 10, we suggest you use the ones that we recommend, not via the builder. What's a good negotiating strategy? I find it uncomfortable to do. Oh, we love to haggle, don't we, Rich?
Look, I think that there's 3 I touched on, right? Whereby I think you generally sort of say like you're close to making a decision. So you want a couple of builders to feel like they're winning the project, and that's probably going to be the case. And you want to sort of ask it, this is generally a question because I want to work with you. Yeah. And what's the best you can do? I would start there. And like I said, you can go right into the detail and really start negotiating hard. But I feel like that is sort of saying, I don't trust you pricing. You're pricing right, so I'm not sure.
I think you just have to be really honest and straightforward. If they are giving you a tender that doesn't meet your budget, don't waste everyone's time. Don't think you can try and get 20 grand off a build cost. You won't be able to.
Be up to 5%.
Yeah, even that is punchy. I think you need to be very realistic about it. You know, you can't just walk into Gucci and try and get something for £5. That's not how it works. You need to be very honest with the builder. Tell them what your budget is. See if you can kind of negotiate on a few different points. If you have other tenders to compare it to, great. Most builders will engage in a gentle negotiation, but they will walk away if they feel like you are trying to get something for nothing. It's a big red flag for builders. And this is a two-way thing, right? You want to have a great builder, but they also want to have a great client. If you're going to be difficult and bargain basement everything and trying to get pennies off, they will not be interested in working with you.
Builders are very receptive to these type of things. It's 2 people trying to work together, right? So if you sort of put their back up in any way, then it sounds bad. They might put the price up. And they might say, well, I don't really overly want to work with this customer. And I know it sounds
naughty, but it happens.
It does, sadly. So
Joe Skinner wants to test your knowledge, Rich. What does JCT stand for?
Joint Contract Tribunal, I think, off the top of my head.
This guy, you should know.
Yeah, I think it's pretty
Joe, I'm sure that is correct.
But there's different types of this, Joe, as well. So we can send you a link if you need more.
Joe, there'll definitely be copies online you can have a look at. Templates.
£80-something now plus VAT.
But you'll be able to look at a template as a guide. You can't download it, but you'll be able to see it. But the builder will have paid the £80 to have the template that they'll just use again and again for all their customers.
And actually, when you go on the site, there's a summary of what's in the contract. There's a bit of this is what you get if you bought this also. So yeah, very easy to see what the types are. But minor works is typically the one for domestic buildings.
Yeah. Right, Jeff. Building regulations drawings. Are architects necessary for this, or can they be done by others? Ooh. You wouldn't want me doing your building regulations drawings, Jeff, that's for sure.
I mean, they can be. And look, sometimes builders say that you don't need them, and engineers say that you got the structure, so you're fine. But in all honesty, you're not. I think that hopefully this sort of talk has explained that the level of detail that you need to get accurate pricing, which essentially the foundation from is, no pun intended, the building regs drawings, is what you want to start with. And the idea there is that because you have that detail, you've got a blueprint to build from, an accurate price. So when you come to site, the price isn't going to go up. There's no grey areas because you've designed it all, you've thought about the drainage, you've spec'd everything that you need to ensure your price is right. So whatever you spend on your building regs, you get back in the fact that you have
quality,
confidence,
accuracy.
It's a good build, it complies, and this is what I'm going to pay for. Otherwise, you
do you need building regulations drawings to sell a house?
Good question. No. You obviously, to sell the house, you can have searches. So if someone does a search and goes, I've got an extension, but actually, is there a certificate of completion from building control? No. Then in theory, it's sort of saying, well, does it comply? Is it built to regulation standards? So cool. It's at risk, basically.
Pratik, all has been very good with Resi so far. I'm at the stage where I'm looking for a builder and reviewing quotes. I have a quote review plan with Resi, maybe with this guy, which I think will be a big help. Just one item that would have been great to have if Resi produced a schedule for works. That way all builders are quoting against the same scope, allows better management of exclusions specifically for a mid-sized project. I agree, it's something that we are discussing and working on. What you will get from maybe, if Rich is doing the tender review call, he will have done some kind of comparison document to look at a schedule of works. for internal use only, but we can share that with you if we think that's helpful. But Pratik, thank you for your feedback. We agree. A schedule of works would be great, and that's something that we can discuss. Is something that normally is provided by the builders, but I think it would be good to help you kind of analyse your tenders better. Agree. Lynette, I am due to hear whether my plans have been approved by the 1st of Feb. I can't see any recommended builders, quantity surveyors, etc. on my Resi account. Lynette, it might be a little bit early. Normally the kick-off point for you to get your Connect builders introduced is once planning is approved. But if you are a Resi customer, again, I'll make a note of your name and I'll go away and speak to our team and see if we can get introductions.
Slightly too early. Maybe.
Slightly too early, but if planning is approved on the 1st of Feb, maybe we could do it the week after.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We've got to wrap it up. Oh God. Okay, sorry guys. Everyone's really lovely. David Howell. We got to get out. We're going to be told off. But I feel bad. We're not going to answer these questions. Don't use a non-VAT registered contractor, even if it saves 20%. If they're not VAT registered, it's a bad sign. It's a red flag. We don't allow any contractors on our platform that aren't VAT registered. But yes, Caroline will send you the retrofit webinar, and Direct to Connect anonymous attendee is free. The fee is paid by the contractor. It's between 3 and 5% that we charge to the contractor. It's a marketing acquisition cost for your tender. You pay nothing. It's free. We're good.
Yeah.
That's it. We can't answer any more questions.
Okay. Sorry. Bye everyone. Thanks everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.